While the Indian diaspora in many ways has faced the systemic exclusion with quiet resilience, the Hispanic community, on the other hand, has had a very different playbook, one of mass mobilization, civil disobedience, and at times, utter chaos. When ICE raids targeted Hispanic neighborhoods in Los Angeles, the reaction was immediate and explosive. Barricades went up, dumpsters burned, and federal buildings were vandalized with anti-ICE graffiti. Protesters shut down the 101 freeway, clashed with riot police, and forced the deployment of the National Guard. Over 150 arrests were made, but the message was clear: this community would not go quietly. Why does one diaspora get negotiations after riots and the other gets silence after systemic humiliation? The contrast with the Indian response couldn't be starker. Where Indian students faced handcuffs and deportation with dignified appeals to embassies and legal systems, Hispanic activists turned urban centers into pressure points. Their methods extracted political concessions, sanctuary cities, DACA protections, and softened rhetoric from democratic leaders. Meanwhile, Indian students confront 41% visa rejection rates with no comparable political advocacy on their behalf. The United States of America under Donald Trump's second term has become rather unwelcoming of international students. Between 2023 and 2024, the visa denial rate reached up to 41%. The message from Trump administration very clear: even if you have a valid visa, you will not be allowed entry. Also, international students are now being treated as abusers of the system rather than contributors to it. And the new rules don't just end at denial. They allow revocation of legal status with frightening ease. If your name ends up in any law enforcement or biometric database, even wrongly, you could be deported. If your service record, that is Student and Exchange Visitor Information System, is flagged or terminated, your legal right to stay ends immediately. No grace period, no appeal, no graduation. Since Trump took office, thousands of service records, particularly of Indian students, have been terminated. Even the positive statements made by Donald Trump during campaign and afterwards of automatically converting green cards for those who graduate from Ivy League universities rings hollow, because behind the scenes, what the machinery and the system is doing is deport, deny, reject, and ensure that international students are humiliated. This isn't just about one student, it's about the message being sent to an entire community that has for decades shaped the very fabric of American excellence. Indian Americans make up just 1.4% of the US population but have contributed to over 12% of US startup founders in Silicon Valley. Leading roles in tech giants like Google, Microsoft, and Adobe. Over 40% of foreign-born engineers, 25% of doctors, and a huge portion of Ivy League faculty. From Wall Street to Hollywood, NASA to Netflix, Indian immigrants have built companies, led research, and healed millions. This is the diaspora that is now being questioned at airports. Why is the US viewing these high-potential candidates through a lens of suspicion, while the US State Department clearly spells out that 20% of Indian nationals account for the international students in the United States of America? That the Indian students dominate STEM programs, that they're ahead in coding contests, as also are the backbone of America's tech research. They are Nobel laureates, Oscar winners, Rhodes Scholars, CEOs, congressmen. Dr. Vivek Murthy, U.S. Surgeon General, Pramila Jayapal, Member of the House of Representatives, Neil Katyal, former U.S. Acting Solicitor General. And this diaspora continues to give back, not just economically, but socially and intellectually. In science, Indian origin minds like Venkatraman Ramakrishnan and Hargobind Khurana have reshaped molecular biology. In public health, Dr. Vivek Murthy leads national policy as U.S. Surgeon General. In finance, Ajay Banga runs the World Bank. From the White House to Wall Street, from Silicon Valley to Ivy League campuses, Indian origin professionals drive innovation, policy, and create a better future for America. So when Trump's policies create a hostile environment for students, the very pipeline that nurtures this talent, the cost isn't just emotional, it's economic, it is strategic. So when a young student is handcuffed, it's not just about one visa, it's about a community being told, you're not welcome anymore. Can America afford to lose such talent? Not just because there is plenty of space here in India, but also there are many countries like Germany that are now welcoming Indian students. Some say returning or being deported to India is not a loss anymore for the Indian student, which is partially true. India is rising. It's building its own Silicon Valleys, its own unicorns, its own Ivy Leagues. Young Indians today have the option to thrive at home. But that doesn't justify inhumane treatment abroad. The issue isn't whether India is a good plan B. The issue is respect, dignity, and the recognition that students arriving in America aren't criminals. They're investments in the country's future. If they are sent home in handcuffs, what message does that send to the next Sundar Pichai? The video from Newark Airport is more than just an isolated incident. It's a wake-up call. As India rises and its diaspora flourishes globally, the world must ask, how do we treat our dreamers?